that not many people in your group smoke cigarettes, therefore you can't try and persuade them to quit smoking if they don't smoke. All right. And we may want to handle what is like a pre-questionnaire and then a questionnaire, because your pre-questionnaire might just find out if they do or don't. And if they do, great. Then you can continue with your topic. If they don't, right? Um, right? Not to not to eat dairy products. Try and your specific purpose would be to persuade my audience to not eat dairy. All right, immediate action. Either they do it or they don't. It's not like, oh, I think it's wrong to eat dairy. No, no, no. It's not about changing ideas. It's about changing action. When I when I would give a sample speech on this, my speech is, first of all, to persuade my audience to learn CPR and first aid. And the other one is to persuade my audience to stop using styrofoam. Now, my styrofoam topic is, well, it can still be used, I guess, because for a while, like styrofoam was going to be illegal. It wasn't going to be used. But now people are using like an environmentally safe styrofoam. I don't think any styrofoam is environmentally safe. And we're using it even more right now because of the pandemic. All right. So it's going to be to persuade your audience to change something they do or don't do. Your first one. Your second one is going to be to change their ideas, to change the way they think, not their action. Okay. Now, I don't know if for a group of college students, if it would be pertinent to argue to argue Sophia the First to them. I'm not sure that would be a great topic for your audience. Okay. But in your second persuasive, you're going to try and change their ideas, not change the way they do things, but change the way they think. Passive agreement. So maybe I do things differently, but I think something differently. Okay. So yeah. And why is Sophia the First the best cartoon on TV?
It has a lot of qualities. I don't know how to express it.
Hold on. You're speaking to me. You're communicating. Don't fall back into your bad habits, because this is it. You give your speech all, no, yes, correct, proper, and then you speak and you go, Take your time, think about what you're saying, and tell me why Sophia the First is the best cartoon on television.
For a minute, my cat escaped from my hands.
I hope everything works out. The other day, my husband loves playing with my daughter. She has a Google Home. And so all of a sudden he'll yell, "Hey Google, play Ángeles Azules," And he's like, and you're going, she's like, "Oh, stop it. So all of a sudden he'll yell, "Hey Google, put on this weird song." And she'll be like, "Oh, on. This is at 11 o'clock at night. We're laying there ready to go to sleep." And he goes, "Hey Google." So the other night he goes, "Hey Google, play Ángeles Azules." And it says playing Ángeles Azules, and it starts playing it. And my daughter gets up and she unplugs her Google and she lays back down. And all of a sudden, I hear my TV turning on, YouTube opening up, and a theme song to Happy Tree Friends. And I'm going, oh God, she's taking her revenge. We put Ángeles Azules on her Google. She puts Happy Tree Friends on her TV. So thinking of cartoons, that's a terrible cartoon. Terrible. That's why she put it on. All right. I'm hoping everybody comes in before we start. Looks like just about everyone is here. So we have a full day. Let's get started. Everyone, hands way up. Stretch them out, stretch them out, stretch them out, stretch them out. Yawn, stretch. It's an early morning. Make sure you're stretching. Stretch it out. All right. If you can, go down to the floor. Go down to the floor. Swing your arms. Swing your arms like a rag doll. Come back up. Stretch them out. Stretch them out. Way up to the ceiling. Touch the ceiling. Go back. And come forward. All right. Good. Swing your neck out slowly. Don't do it quickly, otherwise you'll knock it off. Back and front. Back and front. Take it around in circles. The other way. Good. Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. Breathe in. Hiss. Into your diaphragm, into your belly. Hiss. How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Rubber baby buggy bumpers, 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 rubber baby buggy bumpers. Red lorry, yellow lorry, 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 red lorry, yellow lorry. Good. Pull it in. Get ready. Close your eyes. This is it. This is the real one. This is your chance to shine. The other two presentations, those were practice. Those were just to get you ready for this one. This is it. This is the real one. Now you've had practice. It doesn't matter what you've done before. This is what you're doing now. This is going to show what you can do. It's your moment to show off. It's your moment to shine. We want you to have success. We want you to do this well. We want you to feel good about what you do today. And we want to know, and we want to learn, and we want you to teach us, and we want you to show us. Imagine yourself turning on your microphone, taking a deep breath, starting your presentation, thinking calmly about what you're going to say, remembering to breathe, pause, talking directly to us. You look at your audience, and your audience is interested. Your audience really wants to know what you want to teach us and what you want to show us. You go through your speech with no problem. You're ready. You've prepared for it. And at the end of your speech, your audience is applauding because you have taken the time and because you have practiced and because you are ready and because you have learned and because you talked to us. You didn't say something that had been memorized. You didn't read something. You talked to us like friends, like classmates. You talked to us like a teacher. And we learned something new. We learned something from you that we're going to talk about at dinner. We learned something from you that we're going to think about for a long time. And we're going to remember when someone brings up the topic. This is what you're ready to do today. You can do it. And you can do it very well. Breathe in. Hold. Breathe out. All right. Are we ready? Are we ready? This is going to be great. It's going to be really great. So, if I had remembered my telephone to take time, who can take time for us? Can somebody take time?
Me, I can do it.
Somebody who's not yet? What, Ismail, you're presenting today, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All
No,
right.
I prefer you don't. Who
Ah,
else?
I can do it, teacher.
I saw Teresa first, so let's have
Okay.
Teresa do this for us today. Teresa, you're going to start the clock when they start speaking. Okay, let them give them time to put up their presentation and everything. It's when they actually start their presentation, you'll start the time. Okay, at 7 minutes, let's not stop them. Let's not stop them today because we may have a little bit of complications from the presentation. So at the end of each presentation, just let us know how long it was. Okay.
Yeah.
And Nicole and hold on, Daniela's in the waiting room. Nicole and Xochitl, I'm going to have you evaluate Miguel. Daniela and Javier, you're going to evaluate Sofia. Daniela just came in. Daniela,
Yes, teacher.
you're going to evaluate Sofia.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Majo and Teresa, you're going to evaluate Ismael. Alejandro and Belen, you're going to evaluate Guadalupe. Laura and Nati, you're going to evaluate Ari. Jesus and Ashley, you're going to evaluate Fernanda. And Nicole and Xochitl, I'm going to have you evaluate Betty. Okay. Everybody knows who they're evaluating? All right.
Yes, teacher.
There's no specific line for the materials for the presentation, but any comments you would like to make on their PowerPoint, on their presentation, on how they work with the materials, you can put it in the comments. All right. Any questions before we start?
Teacher, we can see the questionnaire.
You can't see it?
No, we
Okay.
can't. I think that you have to activate it. I don't know how Google Forms
All right.
works.
I thought it would just be okay, but yeah, I'll check that. I'll check that as we go. But it's the same criteria as last time. All right. So you have the same idea as last time. Make your notes about it while I try and check this as we're going. All right. Thank you for that information. Okay. Anything else? All right, Miguel, whenever you're ready.
It's 2 weeks before of the end of the semester. You're happy because you are about to go on vacation and because you don't have to do homework anymore. But your teacher has asked you to finish a project within these 2 weeks, which for you, it means you have a week and a half of rest, so you finally start working on it. You know you have to do it sooner or later, but you can force yourself to start doing it. So why would you give your rest instead of getting started? Is it because you are lazy to do it? Or is it because you're not able to manage your time properly? To be honest, this has happened to everyone at a certain point. Many of my friends tend to say, I don't feel like doing homework. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll have time. And tomorrow comes and anything is done. And not to say that they are the only ones who say this, because I have also said it. Well, this is called procrastination. And there are 3 main reasons people procrastinate, that are fear of failure, indecisiveness, and task aversion. According to Dr. Tim Paschal, a professor at Carleton University, procrastination is an emotion regulation problem, not a time management problem. This is the limbic system, which is one of the most dominant portions of our brain. It controls our mood and our emotions, like anger, pleasure, and fear. And this takes me to my first point, the fear of failure. This promotes procrastination primarily when people feel incapable of dealing with tasks that they are afraid to fail. For example, a man is working on a plan for making a business, but at the same time he's thinking that his idea is going to fail. So he keeps working and working. And when he thinks he's ready to make it public or to show his idea, he doesn't do it because he's afraid that it is not going to work. This fear of failure also promotes procrastination by avoiding finishing the tasks or to avoid getting started. Moving on to the next point, indecisiveness, where people procrastinate because they cannot make a decision. They doubt if the decision that they are going to make is good or not. They are not sure, and you know that sometimes when you need to make a decision so you can go to your specific task. And the more options you have, the more complicated it will be for you to choose one. Therefore, you start postponing it. This is the prefrontal cortex that forces you to complete a job or a task, as long as you are focused. But if you're indecisive about a decision, you lose focus and this part doesn't work. For example, the students in a school might delay starting their presentation because they can decide which topic they want to talk about. And they know it is important. However, they can focus on a specific topic. And because they have time, they decided to do it one day before our presentation. Because that way they think that they will be forced to do it. Similarly, task aversion, where people procrastinate because they are averse to the tasks that they have to perform, because they find it tedious, boring, and also because they think that the task is too difficult for them to perform it. And I can relate with this. Whenever I have homework and I find it difficult or tedious, I always end up putting it off until the deadline and hoping that someone could help me. At the end, we all finish our tasks, but they don't turn as effective as expected because of procrastination. As we can see, procrastination is not a time management problem. It is a result of the fear of failure, thinking that your idea is not going to work, so you don't present it. Indecisiveness, when the more options you have, the more complicated it will be for you to choose. And task aversion, the avoidance of the situations because they are not attractive to you. Now that you know more about the main reasons people procrastinate, you're able to recognize a procrastinator. Or are you the procrastinator?
Tere, how long was that?
12 minutes.
5:12. Thank you. So those of you evaluating him, he was within the time limits. Okay. All right. Hold on a second. I'm going to print something quick here. Wow. Because I had forgotten I won't be able to fill out the evaluation here. So let me, how many are presenting today? 7, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a J. Give me just a second here. All right. Great. Sophia's next. Sophia, you want to go ahead and start putting your presentation up? And as soon as she starts, we'll start taking the time.
A few months ago, at the beginning of the quarantine, when I got anything to see on Netflix, I discovered a film of Zac Efron and Lily Collins that was about the specific period of time of the life of Ted Bundy. And then Netflix suggests me to watch the documentary about his life. Ted Bundy is one of the most popular serial killers of the US. A serial killer is a person who murdered 3 or 5 people in a specific period of time, and it could be in a different place. I found out that in a different streaming platforms like Netflix, Amazon, even YouTube, we could find different documentals about serial killers, what they do, who murder. And I noticed that many of them got a damage in their childhood, which according to Kronsky, the childhood is one of the most valued stages on the development of the human. So I asked myself if you got a difficult childhood, or you got an abuse and a trauma, you could be a serial killer. Well, exist causes of becoming a serial killer. According to Dr. Cesar Lombroso, one of the most important criminologists, also called the father of the criminologists, says that exist causes and the main importance are the physical abuse, the emotional abuse, the irritable brain, and the warrior gene. According to the psychologist Jim Fallon on the University of California, they also disagree with Dr. Lombroso, says that the most common causes is the physical abuse. We know that the physical abuse is the one that marks on your body, but also makes you feel depressed, anxious, and mad. An important serial killer, Josh Malonda, says that he suffered physical abuse. According to him, his mother hit him every time that he wanted to do it, with power lines, shoes, everything that he got handy to hit him. He said that his mother hit him every time of his life until he decided to move on. A study of the Radford University asked 50 serial killers about how many of them suffer any kind of abuse. And the result was that 36% says that suffer physical abuse. Moving on with our next cause, that is the emotional abuse. This abuse is one of the most difficult to identify because it's something deeper. It's not something that you can see or notice. A physical abuse is the way that you control another person using their emotions. In otherwise, is when you manipulate other people. When I watched the documentals, I noticed that many of them suffer this kind of abuse. And with the same study of the Radford University, says that the 50% of the serial killers suffer emotional abuse. Moving on with the third cause, that is one more scientific, is the irritable brain. According to a study of Dr. Ramsey, he scanned and analyzed 50 different brains of murderers, and he noticed a little variable on the brain, a specific one, a damage. There is the one that we called the parental frontal part of the brain. When we got the cortex and the amygdala, I don't know if you can see, the amygdala. The cortex is the one that we control our impulses, emotional impulses. And the amygdala is the one that gives us or generates our emotions. And the study was surprising. Well, it's result that the serial killer's brain have a low range of the amygdala and a high range of the cortex. In conclusion, what he said is that that's why so many serial killers don't control her emotions and doesn't know how to react to different parts of their life. Moving on with the fourth cause, that is the wire gene. There's a gene that produces the AMOA. That it's the neurotransmitters levels and controls the impulse control. This gene got a variant where you are predisposed to violence. And it is surprising, 30% of every man got this gene. We discovered that because in a study of 1933, a family noticed that was a background of violence. All of them suffer violence. So they discovered that all of the men got this gene. Well, now that we know all the causes of the wire gene of the serial killers, the emotional abuse, the physical abuse, the wire gene, and the impulse brain, we are able to identify who are a serial killer. It is a possible way that you will be a serial killer.
Okay.
723.
723. Okay. Those of you evaluating Sophia, she went over time. That's it. Okay. I'm going to walk away from the computer just a second. Who's up next? Is my
Me, yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead and put your presentation up and give me just a second. I'll be right back.
Yes. So a few questions very quickly. Can you see my square while I'm talking?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. ¿Se ve que estoy moviendo mis rodillas?
Yes.
Puta madre.
No.
Don't shake, Ismael. You will do fine.
It will be great.
You have done this before.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm back. Whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and start.
Just Once, Elvis Martinez said, people are perfect communication machines, and that's true, because historically, human beings had the necessity to transmit what they feel to someone else. From pictograms from Mesopotamia, hieroglyphs from Egyptians, and the creation and developing of the alphabet. But for human beings, that wasn't enough, because nowadays with technologies that certainly goes on very quickly, we can find that it has changed our life of thinking and communication by messages, because now we can send images, we can send voice message and emojis. Then the last ones are the most important, because emojis have impacts in our lives that are expressing feelings, emphasizing statements, and they are the perfect tools in some occasions. But first of all, let's have a look at how they can express feelings. First of all, in this very short conversation that you can see between lovers, you can appreciate that these people are good, are great, they are totally in love, because the feeling that you can see is the feeling of love. But on the other hand, we have this conversation that is the same conversation but with the absence of emojis. And the fact that those very good this conversation is that we do not talk to our lovers in that way. You could be the coldest person in the world, but to your lover, we do not talk in that way. We use emojis. That is the next example, when just one person uses emojis. In this, we can appreciate that. Imagine that you wake up in the morning and you send a message to your loved one, but she doesn't answer in the same way that she always does. What happened? Well, the description of this that you can interpret is that your loved one is not wrong, is something is wrong. She maybe is angry with you. That is the expression of feelings when emojis are in a conversation. Once that we talk how emojis can express the feelings, let's have a look and how they can emphasize the statements. Imagine that that you are watching TV at home, but suddenly your friend sends a message to you, and he just puts a lot of sad faces. The first thing that comes to your mind is that what happened to him? Well, he did this knowledge because he just sent a lot of sad songs. He didn't even have to write any word. Just because the emojis, you know that he is very sad. He is miserable. At the same time, we can find an upper grade in the emojis. Because, for example, we can see in this little short conversation that I am furious, and the other person, are you furious? I don't think so. I don't believe you. But on the other hand, if we put the emojis, I am furious. I am very upset. I am almost saying bad words, and that is the exactly thing that an emoji can do, an upper grade of emphasizing statements. But emojis don't always go to the conversations. We go beyond the conversation. In this case, in the social media. That is Instagram. As you can see, is a social media Instagram. In this picture, you can see this girl who went to Italy, and she loved to go to Italy, but she didn't even have to say that she went to Italy. She went to Italy because what she did was she write this emoji expressing that she went to Italy. She didn't even have to write with words that I went to Italy and I love to know the streets of Rome and so on. But not always is that, because she loved to go to Italy because of the heart. Once that we how emojis can emphasize the statements, let's have a look in the last point. That is how emojis are the perfect tools in some occasions. That imagine that you have a date at night with your boyfriend or girlfriend, or whatever you want, and ask, what are you going to do tonight? The answers are quickly, because we can have fun in conversation with our emojis. We can see, well, baby, we are going to see some series, eating some popcorns, and that is the beauty of emojis. When we have this, that the three fingers up is okay. We have the hand to the right side is right side, but when they are together, it means a connotation of sex. That is the beauty of emojis. We can change our meaning. Another thing is that I saw that many of you prefer to send an emoji and the conversation is over. And that's right, I agree with you, because it is very uncomfortable when we just left and seen the conversation with another people. In conclusion, communication is big, but with an emoji and technology is even bigger, because it has a change in our nonverbal informal communication that has impacts in our lives that are emphasizing its statements, expressing feelings, and they are the perfect tools in some occasions. And at the same time, as Kataka Kurita, the creator of emojis, said, a picture is worth 1,000 words, but now in our days, an emoji is worth 1,000 words.
Six 22.
Thank you. 622 for those of you evaluating Ismael. Okay. Interesting stuff. I don't mean to put any pressure on those of you who still have to go, but we're seeing good things today. We're seeing good things today. All right. No pressure there, Guadalupe, but you're up.
Imagine that you got married with a Turk and you moved to Turkey. And one day your husband had a bad day. He lost his job, his wallet, and he had economical problems. But as a Mexican, you make a limpia to call positive energies. But after 2 days, your husband starts to say words and phrases without sense. His body twists and he is screaming pain. You call a doctor, but your husband's symptoms remain. And in the time where you live, many people start to have your husband's symptoms and said that you made them witchcraft. You are taken to a trial in which you have to confess that you are a witch, even that you aren't. Because if you don't confess, you will die by hang. But if you confess, you will go to jail. This was happened in Salem witch trials in 1692 in a Puritan community. The last 8 months that it started in June and ended in September of 1692. And consisted in a series of trials, accusations, and death of people who were accused of witchcraft and cure people. But what caused the start of Salem witch trials? In researching this paper, I have found that there were 4 main events that caused the start of Salem witch trials, that were Abigail's and Betty's case, Tituba's examination, Sarah Good and Sarah Osborne examination, and Bridget Bishop's execution. The first event was Abigail and Betty's case, and according to an article for nationalgeographic.com posted in 2020, Joseph Cabaldo said that on June of 1692, Abigail Williams of 11 years old and Betty Paris of 9 years old started to say words and phrases without sense. They said that someone pinching and biting them. They couldn't sleep, talk, and even eat, and their bodies twisted. A doctor was called, William Wicks. And after several treatments, the doctor diagnosed bewitchment. At this moment, the girls started to accuse Tituba, who was an Indian slave who works in Samuel Parry's house, who was the pastor of the town. And according to the girls, Tituba was a witch, because she practiced voodoo rituals, and she used to tell them mysterious stories. In the town, many people start to have Betty and Abigail's symptoms and accuse Tituba. This event caused that Tituba were the first woman to be accused of witchcraft in Salem and lead to a preliminary examination before a trial. It lead to the second main event, that was Tituba examination. According to a video from historychannel.com posted in 2013, Mary Beth said that on February of 1692, Tituba's examination took place, in which Tituba confessed that she was a witch and she had a pact with the devil and she had seen the devil. And she knew more witches. And she pointed out Sarah Wood and Sarah Osborne. And she described the rituals and meetings with the devil. After Tituba's confession, she was sent to jail. But this event caused that Sarah Wood, a homeless pregnancy woman, were arrested. And a woman who didn't go to church frequently were accused of witchcraft, Sarah Osborne. This was the third main event, Sarah Wood and Sarah Osborne examination. According to an article from Britannica.com called Salem Witch Trials, said that on March of 1692, Sarah Wood and Sarah Osborne examination took place, and there were 4 witnesses who testified against those women. In the case of Sarah Osborne, there was just one witness, who was Elizabeth Hubbard, who said that at night, Sarah Osborne appeared in pinching and chasing her. Sarah Osborne was sent to jail, but after she had his trial, she died. And in the case of Sarah Wood, she had three witnesses, who was Sarah Abbey, who testified that she had lived for 3 years with Sarah Good, and during that time, she had mysterious illness and her animals died. The second witness was Sarah Gray, who testified that Sarah Wood wanted to enter the house one day, and she didn't let her. And after Sarah Wood visit, one of her cows died. And the last one was Anna Putman, who said that the daughter of Sarah Wood, of 4 years old, Dorothy, appeared at night trying to slaughter her. Sarah Wood was sent to jail with her little daughter, Dorothy, of 4 years old. Dorothy was released 7 days after, but Sarah Wood remained in jail. And as she was pregnant, she gave birth, but her baby died. She had her trial, and she was accused of witch, and she was doomed to die by hang. But after she died, there was a 4th main event, that was Bridget Bishop's execution. According to an article from History Channel posted in 2020, said that on June of 1692, Bridget Bishop was accused because she was accused of witchcraft because of her weird style and because she had been married 3 times. Bridget Bishop was the first woman to be accused in Salem. And after his death was Sarah Wood. These events, Abigail and Betty's case, Tituba's examination, Sarah Wood and Sarah Osborne examination, and Bridget Bishop's execution, caused that in Salem, 115 people were accused of witchcraft and 20 were hanged. Centuries later, it was shown that the symptoms of Betty and Abigail's and in the people who had the same symptoms of these girls was the cause of a fungi called ergot grow in grains. And it is believed that those persons consume these contaminating grains that cause them hallucinations, pain, the sensation that someone was pinching and biting them. As we have seen, hysteria and panic and the beliefs that we have can provoke cause and death of innocent people.
7 minutes.
Thank you. I knew I had spoken too soon. Who's next? Artie? Hold on just a second. Ashley, are you in the room? Ashley?
She's connecting to audio, I think so.
Mm-hmm. Ashley?
Hi, teacher. I'm
Hi
here
there.
now.
You're going to evaluate Fernanda, the next one.
Okay.
All right. Artie, whenever you're ready.
We already have heard about a lot of conspiracy theories, since the death on Princess Diana until the theory of the Illuminatis. But definitely the conspiracy theory that our Earth is flat is the winner. It beats everything. Only, try to imagine our Earth as a coin in the middle of the space, like in this image. Despite your thinking that this theory has a lot of time, it was recently in the few years, and I realized about that thanks to Twitter, because there I was a witness of a confrontation between people who think that the Earth is an sphere and people who think that the Earth is flat. These people were known as a flat eaters. The Flat Earth movement was born thanks to the eccentric English writer Samuel Burley, who in 1865 wrote a book called The Earth is Not a Volume. And according to him, the Earth looks like this. As you can see in the image, in the center we have the North Pole, we have the continents, and we have a great wall of ice. Believe it or not, his ideas start to have impact in a lot of people. And thanks to this, the Flat Earth Society came up in 1971, led by Carlos Johnson, who was a follower of the ideas of Samuel Burley. This association promotes the idea that our Earth is flat by postulating three main points, or at least the points that they believe are the correct ones. And they are: the Earth is not curved, the Antarctica is a great wall covering us, and the sun and the moon orbit the Earth. Let's move on our first point. For them, the Earth is not curved, and that's it. And their main argument is that we have to take into consideration our experiences when we look at the horizon or when we walk. Because they say that when we look at the horizon, we cannot see any curvature, neither if we look it from the heights, for example, in a plane. As you can see in the image, we cannot perceive any curvature. But this belief has been disapproved by a lot of scientists and by a lot of physics, as Jose Luis Crespo, who is a scientific of the University of Massachusetts. And he is so beautiful, I know. But he says that the Earth has more than 510 million of kilometers of surface. So it's impossible for our senses to see that curvature. And also he said that the photos that our satellites has given us can't no lie. The curvature is there. So our Earth is curved. But the situation gets more interesting in our point number 2. For flat eaters, the Antarctica is a great wall covering us. If you don't understand me, try to see this picture. Yes, for them, the Antarctica looks like this. And they make for sure that behind this great impenetrable wall is taken care by the NASA, is protected by the NASA. And they state that behind this great wall, there is an unknown ocean that keeps the secret of the humanity. But guess what? The science refutes this theory again, because they already create a map, and it's just like this. And this map shows us how they perceive the world. And as a curious fact, the symbol of the United Nations looks similar to it. But as I already said, the science refutes this theory again, because we have more than one map that shows the world, and any of them shows the world as they do, exclaimed one more time the physicist Jose Luis Crespo. And now, last but not least, our point number 3. Flat earthers believe that the moon and the sun orbit the earth, like in this image. As you can see, for flat earthers, the sun and the moon orbit the earth, and the earth's day and night cycle could be explained by postulating that the moon and the sun are two spheres that spin around the earth, and the moon and the sun movement is just like in this image. And this movement creates the seasons that we know. And to add, for flat earthers, the sun and the moon are 5,000 kilometers away. But we already know about the theory of Nicolas Copernicus. And this theory says that the move of the earth is in the sun. The earth orbits the sun, not vice versa. But they decide to not believe it anyway. But guess what? Science wants, flat earthers 0. In short, definitely this theory that the earth is flat has not to do with the things that we have seen in school or the things that we have read in books or even the things that we have watched in movies. All of their beliefs has not a no scientific supporting, so they face to a great wall that refuse all of their arguments, and know precisely the wall of the Antarctica. But even when their beliefs that the earth is not cured, the Antarctica is a great wall covering us, and the moon and the sun orbit the earth are not correct, they still are interesting, or at least they think that.
Seats 49.
Thank you. 649. Those who are evaluating her. Okay. All right. Fernanda, whenever you want to set up and go.
The Lord of the Rings have many different themes, but death, loyalty, friendship, and also the description of some landscapes were based in Tolkien's experiences. From his childhood, his participation during the First War, and the influence of his informal Oxford literary group. Tolkien was born the 3rd of January in 1892 in South Africa. His father was a bank manager in this place, and his mother, Mabel, was a housewife. When his father died in 1896, he left his family without any income. So they have to return to England, and they have to live in 3 different places along the childhood of Tolkien. The first place was King's Heath in Birmingham, in which his maternal grandparents used to live. And the house baked near to the stairway line. So that means Tolkien used to see the sight of coach trucks going to and from the south of Wales. And this was an inspiration for him to create the Saruman's industrialization of Isengard. The second place was Dormston, Worcestershire. And as you can see, Tolkien took this word of Worcestershire to create the Shire, the place where the hobbits lives. And also, he got inspired by the fauna of this place to create the atmosphere of the Shire. This place was his maternal aunt's farms, which was called Bag End. And Bag End is the same name of the Frodo's house. And the third place was caused because an unknown problem in which his mother had a problem with his family, so they estranged both sides of them. And later they were received by the Roman Catholic Church. And according to the J.R.R. Tolkien, a biography by Humphrey Carpenter, in 1900s, that's no matter that they live in a gentile poverty site. His mother taught her boy children at home. And sadly, she died in 1904 because of diabetes. But nevertheless, the Father Francis, the one who gave them asylum in the Roman Catholic Church, took care of the both orphan children. And in 1916, Tolkien was part of the Somme offensive in the First World War. And the Battle of the Somme, according to the BBC, have more than 57,000 of British soldiers were wounded and more than 19,000 were killed. Among them, one of the closest friends of Tolkien. And this changed his life completely. As he said once, an author cannot, of course, remain wholly unaffected by his experience. And according to the book, The Letters of Tolkien by Humphrey Carpenter, what Frodo experienced in Death March is based in this battle where Tolkien saw countless bodies in the moody battlefield. Many years later, when he was already writing The Lord of the Rings, Tolkien were part of the Linking Group. And the Linking Group was a group conformed by the Oxford academic members, in which Tolkien was a professor. And also, he met in this group his friends, C.S. Lewis, the author of the Chronicles of Narnia. In this group, the purpose of this group was reading and discuss the unfinished work of the members. So this group was the first group to listen in the first pages of The Lord of the Rings. And he made a close relationship he made a close friendship with Lewis, in which, according to the article, how C.S. Lewis helped encourage Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. Without Lewis, he wrote one that without Lewis, I should never have wrote The Lord of the Rings. And also, some critics says that he got inspired by Lewis to create one of the characteristics of the three breeds, in which he based in the tone of the voice of Lewis, which apparently was a booming song. So the song keeps sounding even when the clothes were closed, and it's listen something like home, home. Well, as we have seen, talking life experiences had an important influence on Lord of the Rings, from his childhood to create the landscapes, from his participation during the First World War to express the idea of death. And when he was at the Inklings room, thanks to the loyalty and friendship of this group, he finished his book.
Seats, seats.
606. All right, Bere, let's close this up. Whenever you're ready.
Yes, teacher. There is a little noise in my house. Oh my god.
No, what kind of noise? People talking or
Yeah, people
machinery?
talking. My family. Yeah, my dad just got home yesterday and he's talking on the phone. Oh my god.
Well, I don't hear him right now. I don't hear him.
Okay, I'm gonna share. I'm going
okay?
to share my screen.
All right, Bere, I just want to tell you. Sometimes we have these kind of things. If you notice, you've probably seen me there at the school, walking outside of the classroom, asking people to shut up because they're outside screaming and talking and doing all this stuff, and you just can't concentrate and can't hear. But sometimes you have to do it when there's noise, whatever there is. But as you're talking, all right, ignore the noise, pretend it doesn't exist, okay? And you focus on what you're doing and what you're saying. Don't worry about the noise. Don't try and talk over it. Excuse me. You just do what you have to do, because if you're constantly thinking about the noise, we see that you're distracted with something else. So right now, I mean, when you were talking, we couldn't hear the noise. So don't worry about the noise. If we hear something, that's life. There's noise in life. Okay? So you just focus on what you have to do and don't worry what everyone else is doing. Okay?
Okay, teacher. Yes.
Okay.
Teacher, Guadalupe is in the waiting room.
I don't see her in the waiting room. She's not here. Yeah, it's not telling me that there's anyone in the waiting room.
Okay.
According to your responses in the questionnaire about note-taking methods, most of you do not have a method to take notes. And guess what? Neither do I. I'm used to write down my points, and sometimes I color them so I don't forget what I have learned. But I think that so far, my method isn't useful because I ended up failing my exams. And what about you? Also, In your responses, I found that you strongly agree that learning how to take better study notes in class helps you improve recall and understanding of what you're learning. When I was researching about note-taking methods, I found three useful ones that are the corner method, the mapping method, and the outlining method. Let's start by looking at the corner method. This method contains the main points, details, study cues, and summary, and they are all in one place, so it is easier to organize the class notes and review them. This is how it looks like. The paper is divided into three sections: a 2.5 inches margin to the left for cues, a 2 inches summary at the bottom, and a main 6 inches in class notes section. In the first one is the notes section. Students record as many facts and ideas from the lesson as possible during the class. Bullets, phrases, and pictures are used. Sentences and paragraphs should be avoided. Abbreviations and symbols are developed, and between points, a space should be left to add more information. In the Q section, students reduce learning to the essential facts and ideas. The cues are written in lists, key ideas, or questions. This section is written right after the class. And last but not least, in the summary section, students write a summary of the main ideas from the lesson. They answer questions such as, why is this information important? What conclusions can I make from this information? Or how can this information be applied? The summary section is written at the end of the class or as homework. Also, it could be a warm-up for the next class. And this is an example of the corner method of what I have just said. It has the measurements and the three sections with the information. Like the corner method, the mapping method is an useful one. The mapping method is a more visual way to organize the class notes, so it is a great one for visual learners. This method is useful to remember and connect the relationship between topics. The page is organized by topic. The main points branch out into subtopics with detailed information about each. This is an example of the mapping method. While in class, students begin the map with the main topic. Then they branch off the main topic and they write a heading for each of the subtopics. Then students write any important notes underneath each topic. And if there is more information, students can continue the pattern. It's pretty easy, isn't it? And this is an example of the mapping method. Now that we have looked at the mapping method, let's turn to the outlining method. The outlining method uses headings and bullet points to organize topics. No numbers, letters, or Roman numerals are needed. It means if you want to use them, it's okay. This method is most useful when learning about topics that include a lot of detail. It allows notes to be neatly organized. It is easy to see the relationship between topics and subtopics. And something important, it is easy to turn points into study questions, for example, for your coming exams. Each section starts with a heading of the main topic. Then each subtopic and supporting facts are written underneath the proper heading. This is how the outlining method looks like. During a lesson, students begin the notes with a single bullet point and writing the main topic farthest to the left. Then students place the first subtopic below and unindented slightly to the right. Then, if there are any other details, they are written below the heading and slightly to the right. Over here, this is an example of the outlining method. As we have seen, learning how to take better study notes helps you improve recall and understanding of what you are learning, because it requires you to think about what you are writing. It helps you make connection between topics, and it is a great review material after class. I have focused on the corner method, the mapping method, and the outlining method. Using different note-taking methods is important, especially for us as students.
Five 52.
Thank you. 5:52 for those who are evaluating Brady. And time limit followed. Guadalupe, 7 minutes. All right. There's Guadalupe now. All right, what did you see today? Do you think you're in trouble, those of you that still have to present, or do you think you're okay?
We are okay.
I think so.
Yeah, all of us will do fine.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. But compared to the ones today, you know, like last time on the first day, we had really good presentations. And then on the second day, we had, what do you think? Tough competition? I think you had a little bit of everything today. I think you had some really good ones. I think you had some trouble. And I'm sure those of you who are still going tomorrow and Friday, you will pick up the slack and take us forward on this. Hold on just a second. Okay. Miguel, Sofia, Ismael, Guadalupe, Ari, Bere, how do you feel?
I felt more nervous.
You felt more nervous this time?
Yeah, even though I couldn't see my audience, my legs were shaking and all my body. Oh my God, I was so nervous.
You sounded a little bit more nervous. You know what you do, Bere? I don't know if you do it in your normal speech, but you go up at the end of words. You were taking the pitch up. Recall. You were like taking the word up at the end of it. I think it was nervousness.
Yeah, I was more nervous. All my body was shaking.
And do you think you were more nervous because you couldn't see the audience?
Yeah, I was practicing yesterday and I record myself and I didn't move any of my body parts. I think that it's better if we can see our audience.
Right. And I do hope this is something that you take with you, that it is much better to see your audience. It really is. Because we have the idea, if I don't see them, I'll be much less nervous, but actually not seeing them and not seeing their reactions is more difficult. Actually, in class, what we're going to start doing is leaving our microphones open as long as there's not a lot of noise behind you. I'm going to ask you to leave your microphones open in class because I can't work without that reaction. I can't work without the or without laughter or without somebody making some kind of noise. I can't do it. The silence kills me. All right. The good thing is I didn't hear any noise behind Betty in her presentation. I didn't hear anything.
Oh, I
so
was afraid of that because my
No.
dad is talking on the phone.
The good thing is, I mean, you hear more around than what your microphone picks up. So yeah, no problem. Yeah, you did seem a little more nervous, but not that much. I didn't think nervousness was a big problem there. So the good thing is you may be very nervous, but your audience doesn't see you the same way unless you show them. So it's okay to be nervous, but you just have to try not to show your audience that. What about anybody else? How do you feel?
I feel more nervous.
You felt more nervous also? Do you think it was because you didn't see the audience or what was?
No, I just saw a couple of them, but it was more precious.
More precious or more pressure?
No pressure. More pressure. More
Pressure,
pressure.
okay.
More pressure.
He says, I just saw you, Marsha, and that was so precious. Okay. It was. And this is an interesting comment that you're making because I'm sure the rest of your classmates don't realize how nervous they're going to be from not seeing the audience. So be prepared, the rest of you, because you're going to feel, I think, more nervous than you normally would. Right? What about anybody else? How did you feel?
I feel so nervous. I even had stomachache right now.
You have a nervous stomach also. I've got I didn't used to have a nervous stomach, but now I've acquired one. All right. We'll come back to your presentation there. She's in front of the Golden Gate Bridge. She's showing us. That's not the Golden Gate Bridge, is it? Behind you? Is that the Golden Gate?
Yes, it is.
Is it? Okay. It looked too long for the Golden Gate. All right. Yeah, she's showing us that she's in San Francisco this morning and we're stuck here. How else did anyone feel? Anyone else feel anything
I
particularly
also felt
interesting?
nervous.
Yeah.
Because the computer at some point like get freeze and it made me got distracted.
Did you see his computer freeze? Did anyone see anything in the presentation?
Yes.
Some are saying yes. I personally didn't see it. Maybe I wasn't looking at that moment, but okay. And I think that was an added pressure. The presentation was an added pressure on you today, having not only to speak, but also to manage your presentation. It's difficult. Nobody said it was going to be easy, right? What else? Anything else? Anyone felt?
I also feel nervous. Actually, my hands keep straining. And at one moment, my grandmother in my room, so it was like, oh, please get out, because she was running around. So I distracted because
I'm imagining your grandmother running around the room there.
Yeah, it was like, what are you doing? And I lost 1 point actually.
Did you? Okay, that's, yeah. Yeah, we'll come back to that too. Any others?
I felt nervous too.
Yeah.
And even I was shaking.
All right. More nervous? Would everyone say they felt more nervous than the first time?
Yes.
Some of you did. Okay. Guadalupe, were you nervous today?
Yes, I was so nervous.
Yes. We could hear it. We could hear it. And we'll be coming back to that. So I think this is important that the rest of the group understand that you're probably going to be more nervous for this presentation than you were for your other two presentations. No matter how much you practice and prepared, you're still going to be a little more nervous because of adding the presentation, because of the extra pressure that this is the last one, because of not seeing your audience. Okay. So take that into consideration as you're working with your speech. Now, Miguel, specifically, besides your nervousness, how did you feel?
A little bit of distracted because I had to look at my, I don't know how to say, where you write, where you type, because I had to change my slides.
Your keyboard?
Yeah, make my keyboard. I had to press the
Okay.
button to the next slide.
Oh, and
And
you felt that distracted you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Uh-huh. Okay. You've got some serious crickets there. Open your microphone, Miguel.
Yeah. See, yeah, I have here because I'm in like the place where nobody uses, and my parents put a lot of things here and nobody gets in here, so there are a lot of crickets.
Okay. Here's the funny thing. I have crickets in my house too. Why do they do that? Why do they come in? I have them right here in this bathroom. That's the biggest place they do. Crickets. Scorpions, I understand. Crickets? Don't get it. And I can't say that because I'm going to find a scorpion later on today.
Did you hear my crickets when I was presenting?
I don't remember. I don't remember if I heard. I just noticed them now. The good thing is I don't remember if I heard them or not.
Because I
was
I grab things and I throw them because they are behind the materials that my parents bought.
And you do what? You throw them?
Yeah, I throw objects to the crickets so they shut up.
So they shut up. Okay. The good thing is I don't remember if I heard them, and that means that I was focused on listening to you. So that I don't remember if I heard them. That's good. That's good. Maybe they were there, but I didn't pay any attention to them because I was listening to you. So you wiped out the competition for our attention there, I think. Does anybody remember hearing the crickets when Miguel was speaking?
No, well, I don't remember.
Yeah. No, I don't remember either. So you did a good job. You won the competition between you and the crickets. Okay. Do you think that you organized your speech well? Do you think you organized your speech well, Miguel?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's the one area where you have good grades here. The only thing is, and this goes for everyone, is that goodwill and credibility. I'm not hearing credibility and goodwill. All right, that's an easy 5 points, everyone. And right now, that's the part where you're all missing. Credibility and goodwill. Ari, I heard a little bit of the idea of credibility because you were talking like about the society, the organization, and these like Reddit groups that you get on. So that gave us a little bit of credibility. All right. But other than that, credibility and goodwill were not something that stood out. So please focus on adding that credibility and goodwill. Actually, somebody destroyed their credibility. Was it you? No. No, Bede, it was you. You destroyed your credibility. Do you know how? How did she destroy her credibility?
I think like when I said, and neither do I.
That was it. That was it. You can never admit that you don't do this. Okay. You can admit that you didn't do it before, but now you do it. That adds credibility because before you did not organize your notes, but now you do, and you have felt the difference. Okay, so you can say you didn't do it before, but you can't admit that you don't do it now because your audience is saying, well, then who are you to talk to us about organizing your notes if you don't do it? Okay, so yeah, you basically destroyed your credibility. I don't have a method either. That's like someone, I remember at the beginning, explain to your classmates how to prepare a great cup of coffee. And the first thing the person says is, well, I don't drink coffee, but don't say that. You're supposed to be an expert, and this is why you're doing it. Even if you don't drink coffee, don't say it. Make them think that you know what there is to know about drinking coffee, period. Okay. So we've got to work on credibility and goodwill. Now, this is an opportunity for those of you who are still presenting tomorrow and Friday to make sure you have that aspect in your introduction. All right. But Miguel, I thought the organization and the transitions, you had good transitions there. I thought they were very good in your speech. You let your audience go well. You had even your central idea in the conclusion. In your central idea, you didn't just say the 3 points, but you added just a little bit of description behind each one to remind your audience what each one was about. I liked it. It worked very well. I think you handled your PowerPoint well. It still sounds like you're reading. I think it's your voice. I think it's the way you speak. But when you speak to us naturally, you don't sound like that. You don't always sound like you're reading when you're speaking naturally. Maybe it's the nervousness, maybe it's something else. But this is what I want you to focus on, because the rest, I think you're really getting down pat. But it's that thing that you still sound like you're reading. Not quite as much today, but still it was there. Right? Be careful. One of the things, Miguel, you did it, Sophia, you did it, somebody else did it. Be careful with anything, anyone. Anything, anyone is used when you're affirming something, when it's an affirmation, or when there's another negative. For example, I don't see anyone. I don't see anyone. The don't negates it. I don't see anyone is the same as saying, I see no one. Okay? But if you say, I see anyone, thinking that you're saying, I see no one, we've got a problem. We always need a negative, either the don't or haven't, some kind of negation, or no one. For example, Miguel, you said, anything is done. What you wanted to say was, nothing is done. Nothing is done.
Yeah, when I said it, I realized about that.
Okay, as soon as you said it, right? And that's it. We're saying anything is done, thinking that we're negating, but we're not. Either we want to say nothing is done, or we haven't done anything. Sophia, you said there was, excuse me, there was anything to see on Netflix. There was anything to see on Netflix. I think you wanted to say there was nothing to see on Netflix. So you could have said there wasn't anything to see on Netflix, or there was nothing to see on Netflix. So we're going to work with this. We're going to focus on this and see what we can do. Okay. But Miguel, good job. Good job. Overall, a very nice job. Sophia, how do you feel? Sophia, I loved the way you talk to us. Volume.
Really, because I think it's the worst.
Volume, I think, is what you still have to work with. Sometimes maybe it's exaggerated, like how you're trying to be conversational, but I prefer it be a little exaggerated than it not be there. Okay. But I like the way you used your screen. I like the way you used your PowerPoint.
I was so worried about it because the half of my screen, I have to choose the correct picture.
Uh-huh.
So I would think of like talk to you guys and then to pick my picture. And also with the chroma is kind of difficult with the light. So I have to use two phones and use the light to, you can see it correctly as it's supposed to be.
Okay. Well, we had no idea of all the trouble you have to go through. We don't know. I mean, honestly, it did not look like you had any trouble using your presentation. It looked very natural, it looked very good. There was one thing. Does anybody remember what she did with her presentation?
Yeah, she said, I don't know, you said, you say.
If you can see it, exactly. You kind of did this, and then you kind of did this. And then you said, I don't know if you can see it. Don't say
Yeah, I
that.
noticed.
Don't
Then I
say
regret.
that. Just here and here. If they don't see it, big deal. If they did see it, great. But don't, make us think that you don't know if we see it or not. No, no, no. Don't. When you're speaking, don't use any kind of expression of doubt. Don't say, I'm not sure. Don't say, I don't know. Don't say, I don't do it. Don't use any kind of doubt like that. Make sure that you are looking secure. You're looking sure of yourself. Because up until that point, I was like, she is a master with this PowerPoint green screen kind of thing going on. I was really impressed. I liked that. I kind of wished I had recorded that one separately just to kind of give an idea of what you're doing with it. Okay. You had really good transitions. Now, a lot of your thing is grammatical. For example, the physical abuse, the emotional abuse. We don't use the in English as much as you do in Spanish. So normally, you can take out the and there's no problem. We do need it sometimes in English, very specific instances. But when we list points like that, physical abuse, emotional abuse, go on, we don't need the before each of them. And, Fernanda, we don't need the before people's names. I don't say the Sophia, the Majo, the Ari, right? Like the Bilbo, the Frodo, the. In Spanish, I guess it's really bad to say like la Majo, la Fer. I guess it's kind of insulting. No?
No, it is quite informal, mostly.
No, but if you say, oye, ya
I
hablaste
think
con
we
la
use it
Sofía.
sometimes to
Wait,
emphasize
sometimes
someone that.
Again, Miguel. Again, your audio is going out.
But I think that we use it to emphasize someone that maybe we don't like.
Right? Your audio is breaking up again. But yeah, someone you don't like, someone that you're talking badly about, you don't use it for someone that you really love and that you look at the times you use it. It's not just informal. There's more behind that than that. All right. So no thes before people's names. I'm not the Marsha. At least not the Marsha I think I am sometimes.
Sorry, teacher, I didn't realize about
I
that
know.
part.
I know. That's why I'm telling you. All right. And that's exactly it. This is why we do this exercise, because you're so nervous sometimes you don't realize what you're doing and what you're not doing. Now, when you go back and watch your video, you can find these points in your speech. Okay. For example, you were switching pronouns. His mother hit him every time he wanted. His mother hit him every time he wanted. Who wanted him? He didn't want to be hit. It was his mother hit him every time she wanted, because it was the mother who was deciding. Okay. Serial killers don't control her emotions. Are there women serial killers?
Well, there is what I found out is that it's not that common as the men. There are more men that are the serial killers than women.
Right? Women have suffered emotional abuse and physical abuse and the same kind of things, but they turn their attention to other things like overeating and sex addictions and things like that. Okay, but it's very interesting. There are a couple but normally the lady serial killers are together with the man, like the women who were in Charles Manson's cult, for example. There were women, but they were as part of something else. I think it's very interesting, that part. I love the green screen. I love the way you managed your material. Okay. Ismael, you were feeling nervous? Yeah.
And despite of being nervous, I think that I feel better than my last speech.
You do feel better? Good,
Yes.
good, good. Because that's exactly what I was going to say to you. This is much better than your last speech. This is much better than your last speech. It was much easier to follow, much more understandable. Okay, so good. I'm glad you feel confident about that. When we use PowerPoint, when we use presentations, Ismael's first picture was a picture of two people sitting there. No, not two people. There were more people like sitting there talking to each other or something. We don't need pictures like that. We're only going to use pictures when we need to illustrate something. When we need to illustrate the flat earth or how the sun and the moon orbit the earth or, okay. The conversations that you put there were good. Those were very helpful. So we don't want to use just like generic pictures that we don't need, but we really want to focus on the pictures that we do need. Now, the conversations were really good, but let me ask you something. The background of those conversations changed, didn't it?
Sorry?
The background. Can you share your presentation again, quick?
Yes.
Let me show you what I'm talking about.
Oops. But let me
If
check.
you can, yeah.
Yes. 1 second. Yes.
All right. Good. Okay. Okay. Hi, my love. Hi, my love. How are you, sweetheart? Great. And you? All right. What's the next one? All right. The background changed. This one is gray with buildings behind it. The first one was just black.
It's
Something
fire.
here.
It's
fire. Okay. The next one has buildings.
building.
And the next one?
As my girlfriend and me.
Oh, don't tell us that. We didn't need to know that. All right. You changed the background. In other words, more changed than the emojis. What you wanted to show us here was that the emojis changed the way the conversation is perceived, the way the conversation is understood.
Yes, and what I thought in mind was the fact that some people could have the same conversation, but in other people.
Again?
Yes, and not just because the all right, now forget it. It's
Okay, but do you see what I'm saying? In other words, when you showed these three slides were good. I think they were helpful. But when you showed these three slides, you wanted to show that the conversation was different because of the emojis.
Yes.
So the only thing that should have been different were the emojis. The background should have been the same. Because obviously, when we see a couple kissing and in love, and we think of love, we're not looking at the emojis, we're looking at the background. So in other words, you're changing your audience's perception by using the different backgrounds in each one, okay? So the conversations and the background should have been the same. The only thing different are the emojis, because you want to show us how the emojis change things. All right.
Good.
Yeah. Good, good, good. But you had good transitions. I really liked the quotation that you used at the end and the way you used it. I thought that was really good. All right. So yes, I'm even though you felt nervous, I'm much happier with this one. There was a much better organization in your speech. It was much easier to follow. Okay. Oh, God, you scared me. Okay. So good job. Good job. Guadalupe, how do you feel?
I was so nervous.
We could tell. We could tell.
Yes, and I felt that that I have too much information in my speech, and it was difficult to me to organize it. So I feel that I didn't organize my speech well, and I sound unsure. I don't know. I'm not happy about my
Okay.
speech.
Okay. All right. It was just so fast. It was so fast. And like you were talking like this and you were and kind of bringing it like maybe not that exaggerated, but it was just so fast. And your audio, remember at the beginning of the semester, we had a very difficult time with your audio. We couldn't hear, understand what you were saying because of your microphone. It had gotten better, but today you were having some problems. So you were speaking really fast, and then the audio was cutting out, and we were having problems understanding you sometimes. Okay. So yeah, I had um, in your presentations, I'm not sure that a lot of the slides were useful. Okay, I'm not sure a lot of the slides were useful. And a lot of the slides, you had more than one picture in the slides. Now, if we look at Fernanda's slides, Fernanda picked up, and I'm very thankful for that, she picked up the idea that you can use more than one slide, one picture per slide if you're comparing two things. And so, for example, I saw in Fernanda's presentation, you had more than one picture on the slide, but it was because you were comparing the physical landscape to what he had lived and to what was in The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings. Okay. So yeah, don't put more than one picture unless you're comparing or the two of them are together for some reason and you want us to look back and forth at them because that's what we do. Pronunciation, Abigail, Abigail. And you say, well, that's it. Yes, you have an Abigail in Spanish, English, right? Abigail. Tituba, an Indian slave?
Yes, Titiba.
An Indian slave? Wasn't she an African slave?
Well, I have found that she was an Indian slave. Well, from
Okay.
History Channel and National Geographic. But there were
Uh-huh.
another source that said that she was an African slave. So
Right.
I decided to choose the information from National Geographic and History Channel.
Well, see, the History Channel is now focusing on alien life forms. And so the History Channel doesn't have as much credibility as it used to have. Okay. National Geographic is a good source. National Geographic is still a very good source. But I think it's important there to mention that some sources mention her as an Indian slave and others as an African slave. Because in my case, for example, I've always known that she was an African slave who used like African voodoo and these like not so much African. Actually, she wasn't African. She was like Jamaican or she was from an island, originally from Africa, her family, but they were slaves on the island and they were brought to America. So when you have something like that, where you have sources saying one thing and sources saying another, I would tell my audience that some sources say that she's an Indian slave, others say that she's an African slave, just so that the members of your audience who know one thing don't go, wait, I thought she was African. No, I've heard she's African. And now I'm so busy fighting in my head that I'm not listening to the presentation. All right. Pronunciation, Guadalupe, pronunciation. Execute. The X in English is always pronounced x, not ch, right? Execute. That's Spanish. like Mexico, and it's Mexico to us, right? Changed, changed. That was what we had seen before, all right? And I wrote here that your video was turned off, but it was because of the presentations. I had some trouble following it, and I think it was just because it was so fast, so fast. Be careful on your slides. You spelled Osborne incorrectly. And so somebody sees that and it's like an automatic subtracting credibility. So be very careful. Yeah, it was a potentially good topic, but it was just, I think your nerves got the best of you. All right. But I'm sure you will work on that and keep going forward with it. Okay. Ari, how do you feel? Oh, it's time. Sorry. Ari, Fernanda, Bere. Bere, we talked about you a little bit, right? We said about it. Bere, and yours, don't take away the pictures so quickly. I wanted to really see, for example, I said, show us an example of how it's filled in. And like 2 minutes later, you showed us an example. And I'm going, okay, there's an example. But you took the slides away very quickly. And it's good that we're not looking at something while you're explaining something else. But while you're explaining that, leave it up. Leave it up so that we can see it. Otherwise, we're like, oh, I didn't get to see it. Right? But I like that you showed the format and then you showed how somebody would fill it in. All right. Yeah, I missed one of the examples here. Pulling up, don't take away so quickly. You did a good job. You had good transitions. The word Q, C-U-E-Q. Say it for me. Q.
Q.
I think you were saying
Q.
Q or something like that. Q. It's like a Y. Q. Okay. Fernanda, how'd you feel?
Well, as I said, I was nervous, and when my grandmother entered into my room, I was distracted for a moment, but this time I tried to speak slower than the other times, and so I think I have a better organization in my speech.
I was still a little bit lost. There were points when I said, okay, you know what I mean? But other than that, I was just really kind of lost.
Yeah, actually my mother told me that because she said that it has a lot of information that I wanted to convey. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. You had a lot of information there. Okay. Ari, how'd you feel?
I feel nervous.
That's the common feeling today.
Yeah.
Right? I think overall you did a good job. Say flat earther.
Flat earther.
Right, 3 syllables. Flat earther.
Flat earther.
Good. I think that was your biggest thing that you weren't saying. And I'm like, what was that word she said? Oh, flat earther. Okay. Horizon. The H is pronounced and it's I. Horizon. Scientists. Physicists. In Spanish, we say they are scientifics. In English, scientific is the adjective. This is a scientific test. This is a scientific study. But the person themselves is a scientist. The person himself is a physicist. All right? Make sure we're practicing this. Don't comment on how beautiful someone is on your slides. You distracted us completely from there. Plus, if this is a scientist, a big scientist, physicist, give us a picture that looks more authoritative. What was he?
Jose Luis Crespo.
But who is he? What does he do?
He's a scientist.
He's a scientist? Okay. Give us a picture with a white coat, or maybe not a white coat, but like, very serious scientist. that looked like a picture from a blog or from a Facebook profile or something. So first of all, don't comment on anyone's beauty unless the speech is about beauty. And give us a picture that really looks authoritative. Otherwise, we're like, this kid's like 19 years old. Who is this? This is an authority? And I don't think so. Okay? You use good transitions also. I really like the comparison between the United Nations symbol and the flat earth. That was like, okay, now I understand where they're getting it from. I still think flat earthers are idiots. I mean, you can't make something flat float in space like that. You can't do it. But they'll say my conspiracies are also stupid. So, okay. Those of you presenting tomorrow and Friday, please understand you're going to have to fight with nervousness. You're going to have to fight with a lot of nervousness. It's a very, very different situation because you're not seeing the audience, because you're worried about your presentations, and because you have a longer speech to work with. Remember, we want to focus on your presentation. We want to focus on your saying. We want to be led very carefully through so that we're not getting lost throughout it. You're not speaking so fast that we can't understand. Talk to us. Okay? Don't worry about sounding like a big thing. Talk to us. Describe it. Let us know. Sound enthusiastic about it. All right? I'm sure you're going to be able to do it. So we had a lot of battles today with nervousness, but overall, I'm happy with it. And I like to think that we're seeing a climb up before we turn to persuasive. Those of you that presented today, you can start thinking about your persuasive speech. I'm going to start putting some more tasks up on Blackboard so that for next week, we can start looking into the visual aids and persuasion. Our first persuasion is going to be immediate action. So whatever you're persuading your audience to do differently or to not do, right? If you're trying to persuade them to quit smoking or to stop eating dairy or to stop using plastic or to eat breakfast or to, okay, whatever it is, but you're going to persuade them to take immediate action, something that they can change the way they do or what they do. The next one will be passive agreement, meaning that it's something that they can't do differently, but they can think differently about it. But this first one is going to be immediate action. So you're going to persuade your classmates to do something differently. Start thinking about it. Okay? Any questions? Any comments?
Well, I have one, teacher. You didn't upload the video of the second speech of the team 2. I think it was the October.
I should have.
October 2. Really?
Yeah,
but
I should have.
I
Maybe
was looking for it, but I didn't.
Maybe it didn't upload correctly. I had started uploading it. Like yesterday, I was uploading the one from yesterday, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go to sleep. And I started shutting all the windows, and I'm like, oh crap, I was uploading that video. And I closed everything. So maybe I did the same thing. Let me check. So it's the
Thank you.
Group 2 from the second informative?
For the second informative
Okay.
speech. Yeah.
Okay. Let me check that today and see if Group
Thank you.
2 informative 2 upload video. Let me check that. All right. Anything else?
Yeah, teacher, also I am still not able to see the questionnaire for the...
To evaluate today.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what somebody said
same
at the beginning. Yeah. Okay. Questionnaire informative 3. I'll check that right now so that you can start evaluating your classmates. All right. Anything else? All right. Perfect. Have a great one. I'll see you tomorrow.
See you, teacher.
Bye-bye.
See you, teacher.
Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Teacher, can I tell you something?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I want to apologize because yesterday I uploaded my outline late, but it was because of my job. I had.
Don't give me, no, don't continue. Don't give me excuses. I
No,
said
it's not
upline. No. I said upload your outline. You uploaded your outline. If your outline is uploaded, that's fine. That's fine. Don't tell me why. Yesterday, I had an excuse fest at the end of class, and I don't want any more excuse festas because people come and they say, I know, but it's because I don't get it. Doesn't matter why. Okay. But now for your next speech, you're going to upload your outline before the speech when it's due, right? So don't tell me you can't do something because of work, because no, I do lots of things in spite of the fact that I work. A lot of us do. So don't tell me you can't do it because I can't hear you. Your microphone's off. But that's okay. That's even better.
No, sorry, it was not for excuse. It's just to explain.
But it's no, but an explanation is still, I mean, you're explaining to me the reason you didn't do it. That's an excuse. Okay? But you did it and it's done.
See you, teacher.
All right. Have a good one.
Teacher,
what's up?
I'm sorry, my internet just died and I just came in and I noticed you were talking privately with Fernanda.
Oh, that's okay.
But I wanted to ask something too, because one of my classmates kind of checked my speech, and she told me that she didn't understand some words. Like she said that I'm using complicated words. For example, told me that landslide is not something they know or my audience would know, and hazards. I think I wrote hazards.
Okay, which word was the first one? Landslides?
Landslides.
Well, you have to explain that to them. I mean, landslides you can explain.
But it's like it's like a small, it's just a word in my introduction. Like I just mentioned some of the hazards that the hurricanes can have in, well, we can face during a hurricane, but like it's not really that important like to me to stop and explain that word.
If you're using it and you're afraid that your audience is not going to understand it, either you need to change it or give a very, very brief explanation.
Okay.
All right. And the other one, hazards. You can change the word hazard for danger.
Okay.
They're synonyms.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it was.
However, if I were you, what I would do is in the introduction, I would use the word hazard and right away say, or danger.
Okay.
And then throughout the rest of the speech, you can use the word hazard because now you've given them the synonym. They understand that hazard is danger. So use hazard. They learn a new word from you.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And another word that I just remembered she told me is miles per hour. She told me, we don't know what's a mile per hour.
Well, true, because you use kilometers.
Yeah.
Could you change it to kilometers? Yeah, because even though you're speaking in English, your audience's concept is still in kilometers. So if you can, now be careful because when you change it to kilometers, for example, if you say 50 miles per hour and you change that to kilometers, you're going to get like 73.69. Yeah, round it 75 and 80, something like that. Okay. And use the word approximately, right? Approximately this many kilometers per hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's a topic that has many like scientific approaches. There's one part in which I mentioned about centrifugal force and stuff, but I explain it like I wrote an example of how when you skateboard, if you pull your arms closer, then you go faster. And if you just stretch them, you go slower. And it's the same thing with hurricanes. If the air goes into the center, then it goes faster.
Okay. All right. Be careful the word centrifugal.
Centrifugal.
Centrifugal. Exactly.
Okay.
Centrifugal. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, it sounds like your speech is going to be very scientific, but like you're doing, talk to us and explain it. I mean, really make it clear for your audience. Remember, we're not going to cut you off. You're going to be able to continue until you're finished. Okay. Now, at the end, you might have like 9 minutes in your speech, but take your time and explain it to the audience and talk to us and use those kinds of analogies so that they understand it. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Yeah,
right.
I will write that.
All right.
Thanks.
Sounds good. Have a great
Have
one.
a nice day. Bye.
Yeah,
Thanks.
sure.